Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and today we're going to start a series on one of my favorite books of all time for the drum set, the David Garabaldi book, Future Sounds. This book was written in 1990, or came out in 1990, and I remember in the 1980s looking at a lot of modern drummers and seeing some great articles by Garabaldi, and also seeing Tower Power live several times, not with just Garabaldi, but with the other drummers that played with him. So that was a great band, great live band all the time. So David Garabaldi's had a really great, distinguished career. Obviously played with Tower Power, that's what he's most known for. Also played with another great band that I love called Wishful Thinking, which was sort of a fusion jazz band. And I think he was on every album of theirs. I think they had 4 albums. He was on the first 3, and then the next record had a couple other drummers. I know Vinnie Colaiuta was on a couple tunes on that record. But that's a great band. If you can find those records, they're probably out of print. But they are fantastic. They might be on Spotify or Apple or whatever. So Garibaldi's just an incredibly talented, skilled drummer, very organized, a really great teacher from all the articles I've seen. I don't know him personally, but I know he lives and grew up in the San Francisco area. So we're going to spend a lot of time on this book, and I'm going to do this like I have done all the other series of books here, like I did the Chapin book and the Realistic Rock book and the Latham book and many, many, many other books. I'm going to go through the whole book, and we'll do it section by section. I'm going to try to keep these videos a little shorter than in the past series because there's a lot to digest here. So today we're just going to give you the introduction and go through the first little section. So the main thing about this book is to teach you how to play funk or play contemporary music, really, that's not just the same level on every instrument. Now, by that, I mean if you're going to play a rock groove like this, there's not a lot of ghosting or dynamic variation happening there. So ghosting is when you play very, very quiet notes. And so that same kind of groove would sound like this. So I got pretty busy there, but all of that, those little notes, they fill in the groove. So if you want a good comparison, you could think about a rhythm guitar player, right? So they're playing these accents, right, like this, but all the other notes are strummed and they're in there. It's like a percussion instrument in a way, or a shaker. Anything that's got loud and softer sounds. So in this case, Garibaldi describes the system where you have this whole graph. I'll put this on the screen here. I won't be able to put a lot of this on the screen, so you're going to have to buy the book. That's really something you're going to need to do, buy the book, so you can follow along for this series. So he has this graph here where you have 3 Fs, fortissimo and then pianissimo, and everything in between, and all the accents would be the snare drum, right, which is louder, and maybe the hi-hat, which you would use the shaft. And for the snare drum, you can play a rim shot, or you can play in the center. All right. Now the ghost notes on the hi-hat would be with the tip, and on the snare drum would be towards the edge, if you want, or just quietly. So if you look on page 7 once again, and then you look right at the bottom there, you see this. A little faster. All right, so the accents are forte, the little taps there, the ghost notes, are pianissimo. And that's what you have to do for this whole book. That's what's going to make a groove. If you play everything the same volume, it's going to sound bad. So you've got to develop these ghost strokes. And this book is really fantastic for doing that, for helping you do that. So he talks about the sound level concept in the first 3 pages of this book, and that's what you want to look at. So read all of that for sure. All right. So the first real exercise starts on page 9, and these are single paradiddles and then an inverted single paradiddle. And what he does is he has you playing time like this. And even that time feel uses a shaft tip mentality. Not this, not that, this. And then you play those exercises and the time, which I just did, in between those. So a good way to practice them is to do 8 bars of time and then 8 bars of the exercise. For this particular video and most of the others, I'm just going to do 4 bars of time and 4 bars of the exercise, just to save time. All right? Now, one thing that I do different when I teach this book and I practice it myself is I use a lot of the foot ostinatos from my book, especially the hi-hat. So one way I really like to do all of these is to use a right-handed hi-hat and then play something with my left foot. So for today, we'll just do upbeats like this. And you can even open those. Kind of like a little bit of a disco beat there, okay? So before we do these exercises on page 9, let's talk just a little about permutation. Permutation is a mathematical concept when you're moving over a rhythm one beat at a time to create different rhythms. In this case, the first half of the book is built on these permutation exercises, all right? It's broken into 3 parts, really, the book, and he has that here. So section 1 is just this, what we're doing right now, is getting these sound levels, and we're using permutation to do that. The second section are the permutation studies, where you're basically going to be doing things like this, and then adding the bass drum and moving that over. So in other words, if you're playing 8th notes, we just moved things over, we turned it around, but there would be 8 different variations of that permutation because there's 8 eighth notes in a bar of 4. If you were going to do 16th notes, there'd be 16 permutations because there's 16 16th notes in a bar 4. So that's how that works, and it creates totally different grooves. It's a great concept, and Garabaldi didn't invent that, but it's just a really interesting way to teach, and I use it a lot in my book as well. The last section in the book is made up of groove studies. That's my favorite section in the book. A lot of the tower power stuff, kind of stuff, is in there if you're interested. It is very difficult, though, but we'll do it the whole book, and that will be the last thing we do. So let's go back here to page 9. So all these are permutation studies. That paradiddle is moving over one beat. Hopefully you have the book in front of you so you can see what I'm doing, because if you don't, it's going to be, you're not going to know what's going on. So we'll play 4 bars of time, and then 4 bars of the groove, and then go on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next little section under there with these four permutations are the inverted single paradiddles. So there's two accents now, and we'll play these for you. 1, 2, 3. So that's the inverted single paradiddle. So we'll stop here for today, and we'll do these next couple pages. We'll spend a whole video on each one of these. So we'll do the triplets, the single paradiddle as eighth note triplets, and then we'll also go to the 16th. I'll show you some real interesting foot stuff I do with that too to build technique and grooves. So like I said, I have my own take on a lot of this. I've been using it to teach for 30 years. I'm very, very familiar with the book. I love it. I use it with my advanced students. It is an advanced kind of book. You don't just want to jump into this if you're a beginner. So hope you enjoy this, and there'll be many, many videos in this series. I don't know how many, but many. So stand by for that, and we'll see you next time.